It's the Boris Dirk podcast, and we are back with some more preseason NBA content. And we are thrilled to be joined today by special guest, one of the hosts of the Ball podcast, which you can find on YouTube,
Heart and
Spotify,
soul. Heart and
clips
soul.
on Twitter. Trill from the Ball podcast, who I think is just like an awesome follow. We're going to drop his handle in the description so you can see all the content he's putting out. The Slop Father, as he is known. Trill, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. What an introduction. No, I'm really excited for this season to start because I've literally just been sitting around waiting for the Sixers to come back and ruin my life. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was like 1 week of the NFL season where I was, just recency bias. God, the Sunday package. There's nothing like it. Fuck the NBA regular season. Get me to the playoffs. And then there was like one really boring John Harbaugh Chargers game. And I was like, get this shit out of my life. Trey Benson's on the IR. I don't want this anymore. I want basketball.
Yeah. Usually by about week 3 or 4, my interest starts to fade in the NFL, and then we see the NBA right around the corner. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking movies for a sec before pressing record. Max hasn't seen one battle after another. Trill and I have. But I just wanted to say, on the note of friendship, the Tim Robinson movie, I think I have one real superpower, which is I've never been able to relate to the secondhand embarrassment. I embarrass myself for a living. Trill literally knows who we are because of my Cedric Coward clip that went viral. And that was just me feeling everything because Cedric Coward is about to be a dude, and we have Hansen Young, who's going to take 7 years to be good enough to play in Europe. But even friendship, even biting the bar of soap, Max couldn't take it. I love that shit. The one secondhand embarrassment I've felt, it happened to me this week. First time ever, Taylor Swift's new album.
Ooh, yeah, that one is a little bit. Even her fans are having a civil war over it. So that's how you know, like this group of people that have stood by her for 15 to 20 years is starting to splinter, and now it does feel. It definitely, but also like at a certain point, I've said with her, like she doesn't feel like a person anymore to me. Her and Drake are just like entities. Yeah. They're like corporations basically at this point. Yeah. So like, true. I don't think you could feel embarrassed for someone if they're just like, I don't feel embarrassed for Enron. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a little old for you guys, but
familiar.
My friend Hope put it well. Like you have to be impressed the impact on her vocabulary that Travis has had.
Like, for sure.
The keep it 100, all the dick references. I mean, that dude has had an impact on her, and I don't know. I think I'm an Evercore. Whatever. We don't need to get into Taylor Swift right now, but this has been just an insane week.
How can you not talk about her? Every podcast I listen to has at least referenced the album. It's, all we have is like a monocultural event anymore. It feels like.
What I always say to Max is thank God we live in a world where Drake and Taylor run shit, because it really makes it fun to be in our mischievous corner where like I can say I'm a Lord super fan and that makes me special. But Trill,
artist.
We are so glad to have you on the pod today. It's been an insane whirlwind of a year for you. I just know because like as a diehard NBA fan, in the last year, I've just started seeing your stuff everywhere. And like it's just incredibly fun. I don't know that we've like looked forward to an episode more just because what you guys have going on right now is a special, ridiculous, stupid, genius thing. I have some bones to pick because I listened to your top 100 players pod, and you're taking the bait with this Aaron Rodgers, Jason Tatum, Achilles shit. You're entertaining the possibility that he's going to play this season. You want to defend yourself real quick? Because
I personally, I just want it to happen because the content will be fantastic. Sam does not want him to come back, mainly due to the fact that like the last few, like I will say, I don't know this as a basketball fan because the Sixers have never been true contenders. They've kind of just always been fringe contenders and frauds at this point. Like it doesn't really feel like they've, obviously some of that is like in retrospect, but I know with the Eagles, every once in a while, it does get a little bit exhausting having to care that much deep into every single season as a fan, especially like Sam, you know, he works full-time job. He's balancing that with the podcast. He's trying to enjoy the Celtics as much as he can. And he was looking forward to a nice year with low expectations, nothing. And now I want Jason Tatum to come back only due to the fact that it will just make Sam really upset and it will be funny for the podcast. Like if he just like in January, like halfway through January has like this miraculous recovery and then drags the Celtics up to like the 8th seed in the East. I mean, the content is going to be fantastic because not only are you going to have all these people saying, wow, Jason Tatum, modern miracle of science, but also you're going to have all of the, can they take down the 1 seed? Like it's basically like everything that he wanted this year was like, we'll have a nice chill year. We'll reset, get a lottery pick, maybe make a tax dump at the trade deadline, develop some young guys, see who we can find on the fringes in the NBA, and might get the exact opposite. But I do agree with you. I don't think he is coming back.
Yeah, as the resident medical expert on the pod, I just can't wrap my head around. We've gone from every Achilles injury is a year to a year and a half recovery, and then we're going to see this guy in 8 months, 7 months. I don't care if the surgery was 11 hours or whatever after whatever Bill Simmons always says about how quick he got the surgery.
Fastest ever, apparently.
Yeah. I guess everyone else is waiting like a week to get their surgery. I don't know.
BMM does miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah. My head goes to Nets KD in his early 30s. Foot on the line, KD against the Bucks, obviously playing at an insane level, but even then, he took a season off. With an Achilles at the same time, or just about. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. Also, Trill doesn't have.
By the way, he took more than a season off because of the bubble.
Right.
Yeah. He didn't play basketball again for a year and a half.
Exactly.
Which is, like you just said, he waited the perfect amount of time.
Clay was about a year and a half as well, and he's not exactly the gold standard for Achilles recovery, but he's a very unique case coming off of a double injury. But yeah. Anyways, speaking of injuries, we wanted to get, before we launch into the main meat of today's episode, a quick just temperature check on maybe the weirdest, or definitely the weirdest team, and maybe the most confusing team in the NBA, your team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Where are you at just in terms of expectations for this season? Is it possible to have expectations even for this team? It seems like it's morphed from maybe we're a title contender to do we just move on entirely? Where are you at?
It's really funny. It feels like there was an email about 3 weeks ago that went out to everyone in NBA media to be like, hey, run that segment on the Sixers maybe being better than we think. Because every single podcast at the same time and every single content creator at the same time was posting this. And then within a week or two, we found out that Jared McCain was injured. Paul George still hasn't gotten on the floor, and Joel Embiid still has not really done anything. So other than, Joel has practice in light scrimmages and stuff like that. But my expectations are basically this. Can we just have, even if we're mid or bad this year, can we just have a fun team? Can we not go through the same old, everyone's miserable, people are, there's drama in the locker room like there was with Embiid last year. Years ago, it was Simmons and Embiid, and there's always something with Harden. We had the one season. Jimmy Butler never really wanted to be here. People love to retroactively talk about that team like everything was sunshine and rainbows, when actually it felt like that team was falling apart before they even got to the Raptors series. So I would just like Sam said, where he said he would love to have just a nice reset year where they can I would love to just have VJ comes in and looks better than we even expected. Maxey continues to take another step, maybe gets back on track for where he was about a year and a half, 2 years ago on his development. McCain can actually play games, because I was just super, I kind of expect it with Paul George and Embiid at this point. They're both older. Embiid's had this thing his whole career. Paul George, how many surgeries has he had on his knee at this point? But I just wanted to see Jared McCain really badly, and how he functions with these other guards, and whether we can figure out some ways to play him in 3-guard lineups, whether it's, with Grimes at the 3 or VJ at the 3. I was just looking to hope to see the team get creative. And it feels like we're going to have to wait on that a little bit. I ultimately think they're probably going to land somewhere if I had to guess, like their seeding, it would probably be somewhere between like the 8 and the 11 seed in the East. Like, I think that they're very clearly, even with the injuries, they're very clearly more talented than like the cellar dwellers, like the Nets and the Wizards, who are going to lose on purpose. This year, we can't lose on purpose as much because we don't have the same protections that we had on the draft pick as last year. And now, on top of all of that, like, I think we're probably still even better than like the Hornets. We're probably in that tier with like the Pacers without Hallie, the Celtics without Tatum. We might even be towards the top of that tier, along with like the Raptors and the Bulls. But I wouldn't necessarily say that this team is one that I think can finish in the top 6 unless we have some sort of miraculous health recovery from Joel Embiid and he gets to play like 55 games, which I'm not counting on. I would be thrilled if he could get to 40 games personally, and 40 games of like normal, like not like MVP play, but like, hey, he looks like an all-star again, because our front court is really where this team just absolutely sucks. This team is like horrible at the 4-5 spot, and Joel's injury just really compounds all of that.
Yeah, that feels like the Sixers haven't had a power forward, ironically, like maybe since Tobias Harris, but he's not really a power forward. But ever since he left, it's like, oh, Kelly Oubre is the power forward this year. Wait, he weighs.
And like, they didn't do anything to address it. Like, it's like they went out and they tried to find guys on the fringes, like Dom Barlow and Jabari Walker, and like, that's awesome, but like those guys are on two ways. And like, Janai Broom, you took him in the second round. Like, are you going to actually play him? Is he athletic enough to even get real minutes? Like, they really needed to do some sort of trade with the Drummond Oubre money. And like, the tough thing is they don't want to use future draft capital, which I don't think they should until they know what the health of Joel Embiid is. And the long and short of it is that, like, if they can't figure out that 4 spot, like, that just makes everything so much harder on the guards. It makes so much harder on the bigs. I know a lot of people love like Adem Bona. I think he's just like an energy backup. Honestly, I would prefer to have him as our third big, if anything. And then Andre Drummond, if you didn't watch him last year, was, for my money, the worst veteran player in the entire NBA. Like, I really think that I went on the Saturday Slam and Jam last year, and people asked me, or Alex and Andrew asked me, like, what the problem with the team was. And I was like, they don't have talent. Like, they suck. like they're playing at the time they were playing real big minutes for Kyle Lowry, KJ Martin, Andre Drummond, and Eric Gordon. And I was like, you can't win in 2025 playing all wash vets and like energy guys. Like, you need to have some skill and talent. And it was basically just Tyrese Maxey fighting for his life. And we'll see what ends up happening this season. But once again, I'm a little bit more pessimistic about how many games they can win this year, but I'm hoping to see some fun stuff out of the young guys.
Adem Bona was really fun for like my fantasy categories league the last like 15 games of last year. You were losing every game, but yeah, I agree with you. Like, that's a fun guy to have on your bench. He is going to be asked to do things this year that he has no business doing on a winning team. I'm really sad for Maxey that he hasn't gotten to build off of the magic of that Knicks series, like in playoff games, because he's clearly a dude. He has that like Jamal Murray gene, where, he's great during the regular season, but he's for the moment when the shit hits the fan. The Paul George media day experience was dark.
He's funny, like, dude.
He's not even trying to say the right things. I mean, it was just non-answer after non-answer, to the point that I'm in like my 17 fantasy leagues and he's making it into double-digit rounds. Like, no one knows what to do with Paul George, especially if it's a daily league. Like, he's not going to play. My question for you is, how much of the Grimes shit is real? Because he was electric on a team that was losing every single night. But like, I famously came on the pod after the Knicks took Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes in the second round and said it was the best second round any team had since the Nuggets took a Marshmallow Man 41. Is Quentin Grimes a starting NBA 2-3? Like, what's the deal there?
I think he is. I mean, my whole thing with Grimes is that it really just comes down to what he wants to be, because I think there are teams where he could be, for example, like, I think he would change the lives of like the Warriors right now. I think he would change the lives of a healthy Sixers team. I think which doesn't exist. It's just an idea. I think he would be massive for a team like Houston, who just lost Fred VanVleet. Like, I think that he could really figure out a way to be something in between, like a starting 2 or 3, probably more of a 2, on the right team that is built probably more functionally around like a half court hub that plays as a wing or big, I would imagine. And then just allowing him to like, I think a lot of people just think it was just in March, and obviously he played his best when he had the most opportunities. But if you scale the whole season, like he had a stretch in December too, where he did something very similar with the Mavericks, and Nico Harrison saw that and said, "Get him out of here. We don't need that. We don't need him scoring, an efficient 24 points a night for 2 straight weeks." And he had, if you zoom out even on the whole season, like he had like per 36, he averaged like 18 points on like 60% true shooting. He's a decent rebounder for a guard. He's actually the thing that I was most impressed with him last year is like my idea of him has always kind of been that he is someone, because I thought his best skill when he was on the Knicks was that he was just like maybe the best closeout guy in the entire NBA. It felt like if teams really scrambled and rotated over to him, he could just absolutely burn them off the dribble. Like he just gets to the rim like that. It was pretty incredible. And I thought that was his best skill, and it probably still is, to be clear, but like he has that combined with like a legit ability to shoot off of movement and get into not just, hit threes, but also like the difference with him last year was he was always a good finisher and a decent 3-point shooter outside of that injury riddled season he had. But the two things I noticed the most when he played for the Sixers last year was his mid-range game was like he figured out the mid-range bag. And then on top of that, he also had moments as a passer and playmaker. Now, some of that was inflated because he had the ball way more, but like he can pass. Like he's not like a non-passer. So I think that like he really does have all of the tools to be like not quite as good as this player, because I just don't think that his defense is quite to this level, but he could be like a Derek White type, I think, in the right scenario. Like probably more like Spurs Derek White than like Celtics Derek White, where Celtics Derek White just became like one of the greatest shooters of all time and is also an absolute beast as like a rim protector. But long story short of this, like I do think Grimes is very good, and I think he could help a lot of teams. I don't think it's obviously going to be on the Sixers. I think that he'll help us for either up until the trade deadline, and we'll move him to a team that might just want to take a rental on him, or a year from now he'll probably walk in free agency and go to another team for a huge bag.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he looks this year, just around more talent, because when he was a Knick, and granted he's grown a ton as a player since then, but I found he did sort of struggle to kind of adjust his own level of aggression depending on when he had more talented players around him. And when he didn't have talented players around him, as he last half of the year for the Sixers, he was able to sort of just fully lean into like making his first read, being in charge of everything. But when it comes to fitting in as like the fourth or fifth option on the court, sometimes he would go through stretches where he just wouldn't shoot the ball, even though he was open, and he would just sort of overpass. So curious to see how that looks fitting into more talent. And
he's a hooper. You gotta get him his touches.
You do.
Yeah.
My thing with the Sixers is it's weird how quickly they've gone from like title, chasing the title, to like fun, intriguing young core with these weird vets hanging around. Because Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe, granted, I'm not positive at their best you can play all three of them together with their size, but that's a really fun young trio. And if you redrafted each of their drafts, well, it's too early with Edgecombe, obviously, but with Maxey and McCain, they'd both go probably top, I haven't done it, but top 2 or 3 in their class, I would guess. And I'm
McCain,
yeah.
Give me a break on McCain.
You're underrating McCain. I'm telling you. I'm saying this as someone who is a skeptic of him. I legitimately have never seen a rookie look that comfortable in my entire life. And like going back to years when we had guys, and I know there are people that are skeptical, but like to me, there's a lot of built-in, I think, biases with McCain because of the size and the lack of athleticism. He's an incredibly smart player. I think he can score from multiple levels. And the thing that impressed me most about him, the defense is definitely going to be, I think that he'll just always be kind of bad on defense. Like, he'll be able to make the right plays. Like, he'll be in the right spots because he's a very smart player. But I just think he lacks like the athleticism to be like a lockdown defender by any means. I just think that he's like a special off-ball player. And I think that he got to shine a little bit last year in the very few games he got to play with Paul George and Embiid. And like, they were like deferring to him. They were like, where is this guy? Let's find him.
Yeah.
Let's let him cook. Like, I know there are many players that went ahead of him that are going to have very good careers. I think that he has a very underrated ceiling personally. I think that I would not be shocked if he is someone who is just that special as a shooter and an off-ball player.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned by how, I mean, it was a small sample, but how well he scaled his game up and how much he scaled his game up. Because coming out, I was decently low on him. Like, I kind of thought he was like a high floor, low ceiling kind of.
That's exactly what I thought.
Patty Mills,
like Seth Curry.
Yeah, Seth Curry, Patty Mills type player. And then he was just kind of able to generate way more looks for himself and still hit them at that crazy clip.
He didn't show it in college. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, he was more in that role in college. He kind of figured it out towards the end of the year at Duke. But if you zoom out on the calendar year there, he was pretty fantastic. Now, the issue with him is like, how much is that sample once again? Because it was literally like 15 games where he shot the shit out of the ball, not just from three, which we expected, but from the mid-range too. And it was just like, wow, we didn't really know he had this in his bag. The game for me, if you want to go back and look at a game from last year, there were two games. The Cavaliers game when everyone was out. It was just, and I saw Maxey struggling to kind of lift up the offense, and McCain did it, and it wasn't even a problem for him. He had 34 and 8 in that game, I think, and it was his first career start. And then the other game was the Magic game, which was the NBA Cup game where Paul George and Joel Embiid played. And I was watching him, and like I had a friend who's a Magic fan that was at the game and was literally like hitting me up, being like, I've never seen a rookie play this well. And like, he liked McCain in the draft, but he was skeptical that he was going to be even like decent his rookie season. And he blew me away. Like, I'm just curious, who would you take ahead of?
Yeah.
Who would be like your guys that like for sure you're taking ahead of him in that
I
draft?
pulled up the board. So like, I have some names you'll laugh at, just guys I'm not willing to quit on yet, like Bacome Dadier. I just like, I'll go to war for that dude.
Fair.
But Steph Castle for sure. Donovan Clingan, I'm riding.
I like Clingan. Yeah, no, he's good.
Topic, we need to see when he gets his testicles right.
I don't Topic, no.
I'm
telling you, I watched him in summer league, and I was like, first off, I don't see a way he gets on the court for the Thunder. That's the real issue for me.
Well, that's your own racial trauma. I've got Bub Carrington over him. I really believe in Bub. I had Bub top 8.
All right, let's put a bet on this. I bet you that Jared McCain has a much better NBA career than Bub Carrington. And I love Bub in the draft. I had Bub ahead of him on my board. Bub doesn't get to the line. He doesn't get to the rim. And I think that he can be a nice six man. I think McCain really does have real upside. Like, my thing with Bub has always been very undersized, not strong enough, not athletic enough. I thought he could be like a D'Angelo Russell variant. But he got to the line less than once per game, being an on-ball guy. Like, that's so tough.
But it was his rookie year as a guard in a chaotic system with very little rim pressure around him and spacing, blah blah blah. I believe in Bub. I think he's better.
I love
sized.
Bub Carrington.
He's better sized than you're giving him credit for, and I think that he has a chance to not give nearly as much back on the defensive end with time as he fills out. He's also like a year or two younger than
That's always been my hope with him.
I'm trying to think, who else would I comfortably put there? Not that many guys. I mean, I think
it's a weak class.
I think I'd rather swing on Rizachet just being like a valuable wing with smarts.
Yeah, I like him.
But here's the bet. You're kind of on a rocket ship right now. So when you have like your own like podcast conglomerate, you'll just have to like take us on as one of your like sub shows. When Bub Carrington's a better pro than McCain. But I will say, like, we had the game breaking, league changing, shooting, warping of Steph and Dame in this past era. And law of averages, like, there's going to be another world breaking shooter. It's going to happen. And there are like a certain number of guys that are on the list of could be that guy. And McCain is certainly one of them. Like, there have been moments where Maxi's really locked in that I'm like, it reminds me of young Dame. So when you come,
problem is the pull-up shooting. Like Jared, I don't think Jared has like the advantage creation right now that Maxi has in terms of like, does the defense like scrambling at all times? Yeah. But McCain is like,
but when you combine it, when you combine it with the strength and like the low center of gravity and the running back body, that's actually really effective in a league where everyone's just loading up on these skinny wings that get moved so easily by a guy like McCain. So like that's going to open up stuff in the paint for him that a guy like Bub will struggle with. I'm still taking Reed Sheppard over McCain. You can call me crazy. I just like, I'm not going to ditch my whole feeling about a guy after one season.
Well, the thing with Reed, I love Reed. I had Reed 1 on my board, so I'm not going to push
there it is.
Back. I'm not going to push back necessarily that much on that one. Because we just didn't see anything with like the one thing that's frightening with Reed for me, the only thing, and maybe I shouldn't be body shaming these guys, but he looked like a child on the court. Like it was frightening at times where I was like, did a little kid get onto the like? Why does Reed look so small? But he was so good at like I think for my money, if you want to talk about someone who has potential to be that level of shooter, like I think him and McCain are very clearly by far the two best shooters from that draft. Like, and my whole bet on Reed was that he was just going to be an outlier shooter. And we'll get to see that more this year. I'm really excited to see what he looks like out in Houston.
Absolutely. It is fascinating though. Like Reed looks way more athletically down a level from college in front of NBA athletes than McCain does. And Reed looked like a way more explosive athlete in college. And now McCain just looks like he fits much more on a floor of world-class athletes than Reed does. And Reed was the one like dunking and outrunning dudes in the SEC. Sure. It's interesting how that happens.
I think it's strength. I think now that Reed's got a little bit more core strength, he looked big in the photos that I saw. I'm hoping that is the thing that kind of, makes it balance out a little bit for him.
Okay, so we're in dark times for the Sixers. We'll close it with this. Drummond is even past like his Bulls phase where he can get 20 rebounds on his night where he's just like loping around. How are you feeling about the Daryl Morey experience a few years in now? You can point to a lot of smart moves here and there. He got Yabu from Paris. The Martin for Grimes trade was an awesome swindling. A lot of good things at the margins. How are you feeling about
pick?
Maxi pick.
If Daryl Morey was only in charge of the draft, I think he would be incredible for the Sixers. Like, I mean, if you think about even like the guys that we get in the second round, if he's just patient, like Isaiah Joe's an NBA player. Like there are guys that they have acquired over the years. The thing that with Daryl that drives me the most insane is that he really only tries when his back is against the wall. Like it feels like he's always like pulling a rabbit out of the hat to save his job somehow.
John Horst syndrome.
It's John Horst syndrome, but because John Horst has Giannis and the Sixers have Embiid, who's just not as reliable as Giannis, that Horst gets, and obviously they won the championship too. That gives you kind of a lifetime pass. But it's like Horst is someone who does it with he does the Miles Turner thing, the Damian Lillard thing, the Drew Holiday thing. Like the thing with Daryl is that he's the opposite of Horst in that like he's great at the draft, but he's actually really terrible at those like Yabu. Like the only real like good fringe signings he's had haven't mattered is what I'm trying to get at. Like Yabu was just during a whatever year. Oubre was good for 30 games and then he was terrible. Like the fringe signings that he kind of became known for in Houston when they would just like discover guys in the G League. Like they originally had discovered like Robert Covington and Daniel House and part of that is that Harden just played every game. And if your best player plays every game, the role players are going to look better. But he also drafted like Isaiah Hartenstein and Clint Capella and like other draft gems. the thing with Daryl that's just so frustrating to me is like, why did he punt on 2 prime seasons of Joel Embiid's career? This is a guy who is a ticking time bomb and has been since he got into the NBA. And people will always look at the cap space plan, quote unquote, which was driving me insane for a year. They'll always look at that season, which was the year where Joel's knee finally fell apart. And they'll be like, oh yeah, but also like, do we not remember that the Ben Simmons holdout? Like, yeah, sure, you turned it into James Harden, but at what cost? Like, you literally punted on the large majority of that season. Harden wasn't right by the time he got here. He needed an offseason to get his body right. And then you stabbed him in the back a year later, and, you know, you ended up letting him walk. Like, while he has drafted well and he's done some nice things, made some nice trades, done some, like, if you're the guy who makes your whole thing about building around an MVP caliber player, how would you possibly justify punting on 2 of those seasons because you didn't want to not basically have the right second or third guy with Joel, which was just as important in your mind?
But wasn't PG a no-brainer? Like, and he got him. Like, that Clippers Paul George was still so damn good. He might have just hit the wall here at 35, and he might be washed. But when they signed him, and ripped him away from the Clippers, like we wrote off the Clippers and said the Sixers are in the picture again, and it's just funny where we are.
I had to eat crow for sure, because I was spending the whole year screaming about why it was stupid to do it. Like, I was basically like, okay, we're only 2.5 years removed from you doing this same exact thing with Ben Simmons, where you're saying, you know what, we don't have the assets to make the right trade. We need to get the right guy in here. And at that point, it was a miracle Joel Embiid had played at an MVP level for that long. Yeah. So while the getting Paul George on paper is a good idea, the opportunity cost which is, by the way, this is like Morey's and Hinkie's whole thing is opportunity cost. Like, the opportunity cost to acquire a player of Paul George's caliber for free, essentially, is basically risking running your franchise player into the ground with an already disintegrating body. And, well, look, they might have never won ever, no matter what they did. Joel might not have ever been good enough to get to the mountaintop. The team might not have been good enough to get to the mountaintop. I don't know. But what I do know is that 2 of these seasons were essentially lost seasons from the jump, because they weren't aggressive in trying to really see what direction the NBA was going in. Because, like, really, Daryl's whole thing has always been like, you got to have 2 stars. You got to have 2 stars. You got to have 2 stars. And while that is like, you obviously, like, you want that 2 guys to have as the core, like, I don't know, like, it feels like you can get pretty far with having like 1, maybe 2 guys and just a bunch of really good role players. And that's the thing that he always ignored with the Sixers, and it came back to bite him in the ass.
Very true. Nothing to add on that. Let's get to the gimmick of today's episode. We've spent a lot of time on the Sixers, who are without a doubt the weirdest franchise of the last 15, 20 years in the NBA. So I wanted to do a draft, or just naming the weirdest NBA events that have happened in the last 15 years, let's say. If you guys came up with ones from, a little bit before that, that's all good too. I had a short list of about 30 that I prepped for today's episode. So I've got a deep tank, but I figured we could just go around and name ones. But I don't know if, Trill, if you have one that you really want to start with.
I have one that I think just like sums up the Sixers so well, and kind of how they've completely botched the whole process, quote unquote, process and post-process era, which is it's a combination. So it's a little bit of cheating, but the entire, I had it written down as the entire Mikal Bridges, Zhaire Smith saga, which, if you don't remember, I'll do a quick refresh. Everyone wanted the Sixers to draft Mikal Bridges. He went to Villanova. If you've ever been to Philly, you know that like being good is like second or third on the most important thing list for Philly people. Being from here is number 1. That's like he's from Malvern. Like, he went to high school here. His mom worked for the team. They did a whole piece on it on draft night. By the way, another thing that people forget often from the 2018 draft, the Sixers didn't have a GM because of Burnergate, which happened. Another weird thing.
Might come up later in the draft.
I have it written down on my list, which had happened just weeks to months before this. And then you're looking at this team that has no GM. They have Brett Brown as like the puppet shadow GM, but he didn't really have any say on what happened. And people will try to say, well, he wanted them to get Zhaire because Zhaire reminded him of these defensive guys. No coach in the NBA was like, go get me the raw athletic guy over the plug and play role player, which is exactly what we thought. We thought like we just won 50 games. And I wish that I had my old Twitter account still, because I was fully crashing out on the night of this draft when all of this happened, because we thought we had Mikal Bridges for like an hour.
Yeah.
We were like, Mikal Bridges is Sixer. No worries. Like we got the perfect 3-and-D wing to go alongside with Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and now we can start to take steps in the process to figure out the rest of the team around him. Also, we still were holding out hope for Markelle Fultz. That was just after his rookie year. But the long and short of this was that we not only drafted Mikal Bridges and then traded him for Zhaire Smith, who obviously never worked out, mainly due to he never had a chance. Like I think it was 50-50 on whether he would have been an NBA player anyway, but it certainly didn't help that he went to get food at our practice facility here and didn't know he was allergic to peanuts, and sesame seed, not peanuts. Sesame seed, and they were using a sesame seed oil in the chicken they made at the facility that almost literally killed him. Like, and then he had to go to the hospital. He missed basically his entire rookie year because of that. And then he just never really had a chance in the NBA after that. And it really is such a sad story, but it really kind of just puts together all of the Sixers' incompetence. No one knew who was running the team because the ownership had some say, and they were also still very asset brained. And they were trying to get a pick from Phoenix in that trade, which was a Miami Heat pick, which for the quote unquote double draft in 2021, when they were supposed to let high school players come to the draft, but that never happened. And also Miami Heat picks have never really been valuable because outside of the Justice Winslow draft, they've never drafted in the top 10. So the long and short of this is that that Zhaire Smith's career completely ruined by the team. Mikal Bridges, hometown hero, sent off to a team where he was in the finals a few years later, has become a very nice role player in the NBA. Now part of one of our, I guess, rivals. We're not really rivals because we've never been good at the same time. Mm-hmm. But the now he's on the Knicks and just rubbing it in our face, especially the fact that he was part of the team that beat the Celtics really was just like the final twisting of the knife. So that was one of the weirdest sagas that I can remember in recent memory.
Yeah, that was certainly on my list. And I feel like it's definitely one that most NBA fans who aren't like super plugged into the Sixers have forgotten about, but it is without a doubt like one of the weirdest things to ever happen in the NBA.
Yeah, our fans bring it up every year, but no one else cares.
I brought it up with you on Twitter. I think they brought up Mikhail's mom. I think they did an interview with them both. It was super emotional.
There were definitely tears.
Zhaire Smith was a 6'4" power forward. And it was like before Trey Lance, we had Zhaire Smith. It was just a guy who hadn't played enough in like the public eye that you could just salivate over the athleticism, but he couldn't shoot. And he was like an undersized 2 in NBA terms.
Didn't handle the ball. Wasn't even a top 100 recruit a year before in his high school class.
Yeah. I mean, at least Jared Culver hit a couple threes for Texas Tech.
Jared Culver was a good college player. Like, and honestly, to be fair, Zhaire was good in his role, but like you said, he was basically a small ball 4-5 for a team that like it's not like 6'4" like Bruce Brown, where he's like Jared McCain, Bruce Brown, like they're built like linebackers or running backs, like you said. Like Zhaire was skinny, so it was like none of it made any sense at all at the time, and it's only aged worse.
Yeah, and he was skinny before the sesame oil. But you mentioned the Miami Heat. I'm gonna do a quick one. A lot of mine are kind of quick moments that live rent free in my really fucked up
I
head.
think I know
And
what you're about to say, and I have it on my list.
are you talking about 2019 Dion Waiters gummy gate?
Yep, I have it.
Okay. So 2019 on a team flight, Dion Waiters has a panic attack after reportedly consuming a THC gummy. Miami suspends him for 10 games. He later jokes the plane felt like a spaceship. And listen, if you've taken too many milligrams on a flight and you've been in the blender, you can relate to Dion here. But this was just insult to injury for a guy who probably never should have been picked fourth, but was like slowly kind of building his career out as like a savvy vet, bucket getter. And it fell apart on one flight. And you just got to feel for the guy.
Land, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they literally had to take the plane had to come down from the air. I'm sure Pat Riley loved that one. I'm sure he was thrilled that happened.
It was like, throw him out.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Dion Waiters definitely was like it felt like he was probably already trending towards that like bench bucket getter role, like you said. But the fact that kind of was the death nail for his career is really sad. One of the funnier players in NBA history. I mean, provided me with one of my favorite quotes of all time. You know, just you got to keep putting him up there. You know, we'd rather go 0 for 30.
Yeah.
And this is why you got to keep guys in college too, because he needed more time at Syracuse to figure out his altitude THC strategy. But Dion Waiters, 2019 Gummy Gate. Max, hit us.
Yeah. So as to break up some of the 76ers ones, because there's just going to be so many to mention, I'm going to go with Kyrie's vaccine saga disintegrating the...
Can you read my screen? Number 2 on my board, Kyrie vaccine saga, exactly written.
The Kyrie vaccine saga, disintegrating the Harden, KD, Kyrie Nets. I'm sure this is a high profile one. I'm sure people remember it, but you had the Nets who had a very promising KD Kyrie season. Mid-season, they trade for James Harden, and for 8 games, they look like the greatest offense of all time until Harden gets hurt, Kyrie gets hurt. It's just the aforementioned foot on the line Kevin Durant against the Bucks series. Next season, there's the vaccine mandate in New York where there's like a lot of legal jargon that leads to Kyrie only being able to play in road games. The Nets take a stand that, okay, you're not going to just play half the time. Like either you're all the way in or you're all the way out. He says, I'm all the way out. And it ends with KD already signed an extension. Harden was going to, but then got really sick of having to carry the team on his own after KD sprained his MCL, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So he demands a trade. And then Kyrie feels slighted by how the front office has treated him. He demands a trade, and suddenly it's just KD left alone until he demands a trade. By far the weirdest like disintegration of a possibly elite team that we've ever seen.
I think the weirdest part about that in retrospect is that Eric Adams was the mayor at the time, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one who made the vaccine mandate. Like that just does not seem like something Eric Adams would do ever. Just regardless. But it's like, especially now knowing what Eric Adams has become, that like in 2021, 2022, whenever this happened, that he would have been the person who made it so that Kyrie Irving couldn't play basketball without the vaccine. So the two things that part, and then the other part that gets lost in that is that they hired Ime Udoka after that, and everyone was like, you can't hire Ime Udoka, and they hated having bad PR because that ownership is like, no, bad PR for the Nets. We care more about PR than anything else. And then they just said, all right, we're not going to hire Ime Udoka. And then a few months later, he got hired by the Rockets, and everyone was like, yeah, no one cares anymore.
Great hire.
Everyone just universally was like, he's a good basketball coach. Like, let's completely forget about what happened before. But all right. Am I up?
Yeah,
you're up.
Wait, I just want to add like that 2022 Nets Celtics competitive sweep round 1. Kyrie, amidst all the chaos of like, can he even play in certain cities, put up one of the best game 1 mixtapes you'll ever see. And this was the buzzer beater. Jason Tatum catches it like spinning, hits the layup at the buzzer, and then the Nets never had a chance in that series. But Kyrie had like an insane 36 to keep the Nets in game 1. and was just completely nuclear, unconscious. This is when Bill Simmons is saying every night, like, this is what happens when a super talented guy only has to play once a week.
Yeah, he was on the pitchers rotation.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Stomping out Lucky. So I don't have a singular event for my next one, but the careers of the 2019 NBA draft guys, the top two specifically, feels like you could put a number of things on here, but the fact that Ja and Zion, about as fun and as electric as two young players we've ever seen in the NBA, almost instantly. Obviously with Zion, some of the injury stuff was already popping up. His rookie year, he I don't even know if he did play a little.
He had that game with all the threes.
Yeah, that was against the Spurs. Yeah, I remember that was his first game. But he didn't play that much, and then obviously it took forever. The injury stuff with him, Zion still feels like someone that when he is healthy is one of the 10 best talents in the NBA, but that is just so few and far between that it feels like his career is already going down that what if path for him. And then Ja Morant, who everyone was saying, man, if you did a redraft, like considering Zion's lack of availability and how good the Grizzlies are and how explosive Ja Morant is and how incredibly talented he is as a playmaker and a driver, like you'd really have to think about taking him. And now, like, if you redo this draft, considering, because you have to take all that other stuff into consideration, you can't just completely brush it off. Like, there's an argument that Darius Garland should be the number 1 overall pick in a redraft here. Like, and that is crazy. I could have never imagined that, especially after Darius Garland's rookie season. Like, because at one point, Darius Garland, now look, a lot of guys start rough. There's a handful of guys that people always point to, you know, De'Aaron Fox.
Scoot's going to be okay.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. I was going to say, it's really by like year 2 or 3 where you figure out what these guys are and what they're made of. But like Darius Garland was like objectively the worst player in the NBA his rookie year, and then is like now one of the 25, 30 best players in the NBA, and is an incredible talent. But if you had told me after their rookie seasons that we would be sitting here saying this, I just could have never imagined that going the way that it did.
Yeah, I probably had Ja as a fringe top 10 player coming off like that second round series against Golden State a few years ago, where I think he dropped close to 50 in one game. And then, the degree to which it's just gone precipitously downhill for him since then is crazy. Fun fact, leader in win shares from that draft class is Daniel Gafford.
I was going to say, I figured it was going to be some big that just gets like a ton of rebounds and blocks. It's always like BPM loves those guys where it's like when Clint Capella's 3rd in win shares in the 2014 draft.
Drew?
Where do we go from here? Real quick one, another one. I got some rapid fire goodies. 2018, the wrong Brooks trade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Suns, Grizzlies, Wizards agree to a deal, but one side thinks they're getting Dillon Brooks, the other Marshawn Brooks. The trade literally collapses mid-announcement when reporters realize they aren't talking about the same player. Incredible. And GMs blame miscommunication. So, this was just Spider-Man pointing meme. Brooks is... I do miss Marshawn Brooks. I love Dillon Brooks because of my Oregon Ducks family. But that's one I'll never forget.
Hey, he's finally on the Suns.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even realize that until just now.
Yeah. And like, I already regret taking the Suns under. I feel like Dillon Brooks goes places. He will overstay his welcome, but like, they're going to win 30 games. Like Booker, I don't know. They'll figure it out.
Dillon Brooks is just John Taffer for the NBA.
He's like player Tibbs.
Yeah. He shows up and he's like, we're going to rebound now.
My next one is another high-profile one that I think is the single weirdest thing to happen in the NBA that I can remember, which is just the Markelle Fultz experience.
So many.
I was not super into like making draft content at that time. I was still in high school, I think, but consensus number 1. Sorry, consensus number 1 pick. Before the draft, there's the trade between the Sixers and the Celtics where everyone's like, what the hell are the Celtics doing? Like Markelle Fultz, clearly the best player in this draft. Even in summer league, like people just talk about college Markelle Fultz. He played like 1 or 2 summer league games where he just looked incredible. Because I'm a sicko, I went back and watched the highlights from one of his Utah summer league games, and it looked like an amazing player. Like the shot looked smooth. And then somewhere in August or September, like everything went wrong. And I don't know, it still I don't think has been confirmed whether it was a mental thing, a physical thing, both. But
I hear rumors all the time still, like from people that I trust that are like, oh yeah, he like crashed his dirt bike, and then other people are like, no, that story isn't real. And I think we're gonna have to wait until like some Netflix doc about it in like 10 years from now.
It was a great pick. It was. I felt like I was watching Damian Lillard with like Drew Holiday's length. Like he was a superstar guard in the making. He had all the tools, and then like real defensive upside because of his length and the thickness. Yeah, his Washington tape is still sick to watch, and did not look like a guy who'd ever have a real hitch in his shot. Like he had a great pull up game, mid range 3-pointer, but I'll never forget that pump faked free throw.
yeah,
You know, the ball slips out of his hand, the media explodes. It's just, he has like Jurassic Park syndrome. It's just.
there was like one where he volleyballs it to himself on the way up as a means of like overcoming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a football player did that celebration after that, like making fun of him for the Cowboys. I was like,
man.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the Zapruder tape. Like it's just on a week to week basis. It's like, can we get a clip of him taking a free throw in practice? And it's just hard to come back from that. I'm still amazed that Mikal Bridges had that funky ass mental issue with his jumper before last season and became a useful player again for the Knicks. Like that to me is one of the great psychological feats in human history.
So I actually have a theory that because of Fultz that everyone overreacts to that now.
Yeah.
Because like Chet had the same thing last year, and I was like, it's gonna be fine. Like guys who are shooters over time will just figure it out. Now they might have a bad stretch, but like Fultz is like so one of one. But it feels like he'll just never have anything like this again.
Yeah.
Truly like, and yeah, in a class with like Lonzo Ball was an elite prospect. Tatum was an elite prospect. Fox was like, people thought he was like one of the better 5th overall picks you'll see.
People forget everyone loved Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
We found out more about Josh Jackson.
Yeah. Just continues to be stunning. I was also at the time stunned like how quickly they gave up on the whole thing too, where it was like, I think midway through his second year, maybe his third year, they were just like, give us Jonathan Simmons, we're done.
Jonathan Simmons in the pick that became Tyrese Maxey somehow. They got incredibly lucky.
But yeah, to me, for my money, that's the weirdest event of the last 15 years. But I'll circle back to you, Trill.
Okay. So I'm up again. I'm going to avoid Sixer stuff just because we've already done 2. Burnergate is like the weirdest of all the weird. Like, I don't really think we'll ever get anything like that again. But let's talk a little bit about how about Shams doing market manipulation before the 2023 draft that no one ever talks about it anymore?
What about before the 2025 offseason? He did that too.
Yeah. Well, I will give Shams the excuse of the new job. You got to impress your bosses.
Fair.
You got to be like, listen, this is going to be the biggest offseason of all time. It's going to be crazy. We're going to get so much content, so much engagement. We're going to drive traffic to the website. It's going to be on TV. People are going to be tuned in. And then the biggest move is like Kevin Durant trade. We all knew it was happening anyway. And like Desmond Bane, like nice trades, but like things that kind of happen every offseason anyway. But he's still trying. He's squeezing the Giannis stuff for all it's worth right now. But before the 2023 draft, when it was like all but confirmed that Brandon Miller was the pick for the Hornets, and Shams was dying on the hill that Scoot Henderson could be the second pick of the draft still. And if you just bet on FanDuel, who he was partnered with at the time, that you could maybe make some money off of it. And Woj, after getting burned the year before with the Paulo stuff that he believed, stuck to his sources this time. The Jabari stuff that he believed he was wrong about Paulo with the first pick of the draft. Which we all were very confused by because like it just felt like Chet or Paulo should have been the first pick in that draft. And the Jabari stuff was all very confusing. And then he learned his lesson from that. and said, no, it's going to be Brandon Miller. And Shams ended up being wrong there. I mean, the fact that he tweeted about it like basically like within weeks of him joining FanDuel and like him like consistently posting about it, like that was just weird and it never gets discussed. And like once again, we all knew, like by draft night, we were all like, for sure, this is locked in. And then it happened and no one just ever really talks about it anymore. So that just feels like, I mean, nowadays it's all just about, you know, getting your bag. And if you criticize anyone, you're just a hater. But it was very weird for like the one of the two guys that we truly trust in NBA media to be doing this leading up to the NBA draft when all eyes are on him.
Yeah.
I'm not a David Stern boomer, but I am developing rapidly some late onset, like Adam Silver derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
The skinny penis man is becoming a problem for me. And it just feels like the last few weeks, like the electromagnetic field has turned on him in a crazy way.
It's been building.
Our teams just got back from Dubai.
Yeah.
I don't want to be watching my Blazers on DeepSeek, you know? I just want to watch games on a TV. And the gambling stuff is ridiculous. Like the things that players cannot do. I mean, Kawhi shouldn't have to plant a fucking tree if Shams can manipulate the market like that. You know, it's just that's one of those stories that just reminds you to like not be hard on these guys, even when they are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like there are just some clowns out here who are way more greedy than any specific superstar.
Yeah, no, the basket's certainly been off.
True.
All right. Let me go with the first one that came to mind. The first thing I wrote down in preparing for this episode, Ginobili versus the Bat. And my favorite thing about this moment is that it occurred on Halloween in 2009, which also great time. The Yankees are about to win a World Series.
I disagree.
During a Spurs-Kings game, a bat somehow swoops into the arena, and without hesitation, Ginobili smacks it out of the air with his bare hand, like he's auditioning for Animal Planet.
Or Alone.
Fans roar, teammates jump back. Manu just walks off completely unfazed, and he had to get rabies shots immediately. That's real. And a bat conservation group bought like a big spot for the next Spurs game, issuing a formal statement reminding us all not to follow Manu's example. So it's been 16 years, and that one's still with me.
I'm just laughing at the idea of Drew being like, the Yankees have won the World Series, the economy has fully collapsed, and Manu Ginobili
Luis Castillo dropped the pop fly.
Life is good.
A-Rod broke the curse.
Yeah.
Okay, but that one's super quick. Oh, another quick one. Jason Kidd's Hit Me Timeout 2013.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that one.
Good one.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Good one. They're down late in a tight game, and I think maybe they just had no timeouts left, and Nets coach Jason Kidd mouths "hit me" to, I think it was Tyshawn Taylor, the rookie, Kansas legend. Gets intentionally bumped, spills soda all over the court to force a stoppage while the staff cleans. And it was just, you know, villain genius. The NBA fines him $50K, but that's got to be the most expensive Diet Coke in NBA history. I will say I listened to that Bobby Hurley, Zach Lowe interview like last week, and I really appreciated Hurley's openness. Just about like, this is part of the game. I manipulate refs. I used to complain when I was at Wagner that we don't get any calls. Now I'm running a powerhouse program, and I'm telling him, like, we're the national champs. Give us a fucking call. It is part of the job. And if Jason Kidd were my coach in that instance, I am riding for the dude. I like it.
Just win, baby.
He also had a very weird exit from Brooklyn to Milwaukee where like he sort of backstabbed the whole organization and then was like suddenly the head coach in Milwaukee. Like he's been involved.
The only coach to force a trade.
Yeah. He's been involved he's just been hanging around a lot of the weird events. Like, I don't know if we're going to bring up the Luka trade, which is more just like a crazy event than a weird event, but He was
Great
around
glasses
that
game.
too.
I like his Dilfy glasses game, I gotta say.
He's also part of the reason why Giannis started to become a little bit more of a point guard. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of always just been like adjacent to these like seminal NBA moments.
He's
that
like
have
NBA
happened.
Littlefinger or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's always around.
NBA Zelig.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with, I don't know if a fun one is the right one, but a little bit more of a novelty one for my next one, which is the Houston Rockets. I think in 2012, drafting a man who can't get on planes, in Royce White.
Yep. By the way, I just want to say I didn't like him as a basketball player, but I do want to co-sign everything else about Royce White. Before we That's a joke for anyone who doesn't know anything about him.
America's next great leader. It's never too late.
Yes. Make America not fly anymore. So Royce White.
Air Force One is just a bus now.
Yeah.
So the OG point forward.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. I will say maybe that is how we finally get high-speed rail.
That's actually a great point.
Royce White brings us high-speed rail because he's too afraid to fly and he wants to get places fast.
He finally connects the West Coast and the East Coast.
Go Cyclones.
But yeah, like phenomenal. It's getting like a little far back in terms of like my college basketball memory, but he was kind of like a tournament hero, right? And like multi-year player at Iowa State or Iowa, and was just like
State,
and was sort of one of these like late riser. He had an awesome tournament, like teams fall in love with him type guy, if I recall. And yeah, the Rockets took him in the middle of the first round, and he played a couple NBA games, but he did not stick around for very long because he literally had anxiety that he could not fly on planes. And he wasn't quite good enough to do the, like, we're going to figure out a way to bus him to games.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, how good would Royce White have had to be like the John Madden of the NBA? Where
That's a
like
good
John
question.
Madden, they literally just were like, you're such a good commentator and coach that we will just figure out a way to get you there on a bus.
Maybe like Derek White. The bar is probably lower than that. I don't know.
I was gonna say it might be. I feel like it would have to be like Trae Young, where it's like a marketable guy, where it's like, all right, we're putting everything behind this. Like, you're making us so much money, and like I guess you just won't be able to play in back-to-backs where we have to fly across the country. Like,
Yeah.
like that's just like not in the cards for you.
I think Woody Allen famously made the shooting of Annie Hall a lot harder because he refused to go under the Midtown Tunnel. He just gets really anxious in tunnels, and I guess Woody Allen good is how good Royce Young needed to be
There you go.
to overcome all sorts of immoral shit.
on the court, to be clear. Yeah.
In Minecraft.
Yeah. So, am I up next?
Yeah.
Okay. There were a few just random weird ones that I don't know if we'll have time to get to.
Yeah, we can rapid fire some too.
Okay, so I don't want to spoil anyone, so I'll just say one that I just Kentavious Caldwell-Pope playing a game with an ankle monitor on was a great one. I respect to KCP. I would definitely not be able to do that. Jamal Murray on Instagram, getting a little some.
Forgot about that one.
Bobby Portis punching Nikola Mirotic back to Europe.
It's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, feels like that should be. And then there are two others that you might have it on there, so I'm not going to say it. And I don't want to talk about Burnergate because it makes me too sad. So let's just go Magic Johnson's power struggle with Rob Pelinka.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here. Press conference, iconic. One of the things that people forget about Magic Johnson is that he was actively trying. One of the reasons why he quit was that so he could, tweet more, which obviously we were dying for his analysis on the NBA, which has proven to be some of the best ever since he got back into the media space. But the other thing was that he was actively. So first off, he was part of the reason why LeBron went there. So there's at least that. But the other part was that he was like actively trying to like be buddy with other NBA players. Like he hosted a big guard camp, quote unquote, he wanted to do, and he wanted to have Ben Simmons be the person that he like co-headlined it with. And the Sixers were like, you're the general manager for the Lakers. They were like, you can't do this. Like you literally are part of another team. So then Magic had to, do the whole I'm quitting, and then he very obviously was still involved with the organization after that, just not an official title. But the Rob Pelinka, Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka being able to win a power struggle with that and then still be the Lakers GM now and have the Luka trade fall into his lap is just an all-time run of a guy who's like fairly incompetent at his job, but like just seems to keep getting away with it. And like also like really handsome. Like before he was running the Lakers, he was like a successful agent. Like he really has had just like a very gifted life. And the fact that he beat out Magic Johnson, one of the all-time upsets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
what is he, like 6'6" Rob Lowe? I mean, the dude, the black bomber jacket in the Luka press conference. This is so all-time stuff. And
he's always mogging. He's always doing like Derek Zoolander poses in press conferences, and when people see him out, he's an all-time legend.
Yeah. But I think part of growing up is realizing the adults have no idea what they're doing. And there's been some recent Lakers expose stuff that's just been really entertaining. Like a few months ago when in the wake of the Bus family selling the team, like we found out they didn't have synergy just a few years ago. Like beloved,
they didn't have a scouting department for other teams. They didn't scout other teams.
Well, yeah, that's because they're focused on the guys in the building. Get a grip, dude. No, beloved guest of the pod, Andy Gottnick, who until this past season was an assistant coach at Division III Muhlenberg, like is sitting in Allentown, probably not too far from you, with synergy, and somehow Amazing. The biggest brand in the NBA, they're cutting costs.
Yeah,
that's so incredible. I mean, I know a bunch of people who have synergy and they don't even work in basketball. But they are literally just like, I have it because I used to, like, I have a friend who used to work in scouting that still has access to it.
Yeah, he's living in his car, but he's got the clips.
The most important thing.
Drew.
Okay, where are we going next? I wrote down the emoji war and DeAndre Jordan lock-in 2015. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this one's been litigated. This is DeAndre Jordan telling Dallas he's signing there and then ghosting them. And the Clippers drive to his house, barricade him inside, won't let him meet with the Mavericks. And meanwhile, like this
Cuban's
is like
crashing out.
This is peak NBA Twitter. We overuse the term NBA Twitter, but this was
it.
The emoji war. Paul Pierce doesn't even know how to use an emoji. He posts a screenshot of a rocket emoji. Blake Griffin tweets a picture of a chair blocking a door. Chris Paul sends banana plus boat emoji. And at midnight, he re-signs with LA. And it's just like a hostage sitcom, shenanigans, whatever.
The only thing I remember more than this was waking up to the Kawhi Leonard Paul George trade.
Oh, like, yeah.
Just the shock of that. That's even the Luka trade's the only thing that's come that has probably surpassed that at this point. But the Luka trade, the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard clean sweep, and the DeAndre Jordan stuff is probably like my 3 all-time NBA Twitter things.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton versus the Ice 2024.
Oh, good honorable mention.
That's so good.
Late scratch from a Blazers game because, and this is real, his driveway froze over and he couldn't get his car out. He was only making 30 mil at the time.
I've been told Portland has good public transportation too, by the way.
Yeah. The team's official report listed the reason as ice, one word.
Could mean something different now.
7-footer from the Bahamas. I mean, the spin cycle with these super nice Portland beat writers who just love their team and want the guys to feel loved is so funny. Like suddenly it becomes he's from the Bahamas. He's only lived in Arizona, college to the NBA. But it was kind of the most Portland thing ever because the Elements played better defense than anyone on our team.
Perfect. And also Portland, as everything that we know about Portland, they're so woke that they completely understand as someone who was anti-work.
Yeah. But Ayton didn't know he was, the leader of a movement. He's just, what's like what's the word like people use for like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, like useful idiot. Yeah. Ayton was a useful idiot. Yeah.
I've got so many still left at this point, but we could probably pick like a couple favorites, and I could also rapid fire. Like, the aspiration thing is weird. I feel like it's too soon to fully categorize it as exactly what it like what it is, but
just the term woke environmentalist group is like one of my favorite things that only could have existed like 5 years ago. Like there's no other point in time where you could basically define yourself as like a woke environmentalist group that also like wanted to make money using planting trees in some capacity. And now everyone would not fly, and 10 years ago that wouldn't have flown either any other time.
Yeah. Draymond punching LeBron in the nuts to swing an NBA Finals, I feel like has to be up there.
The most important NBA Finals maybe of all time in terms of legacy. Yeah.
Which maybe results in LeBron having a strong GOAT case until Hennessy Gate, which emerged today. If you thought that LeBron was going to announce this was his last season and not some sort of gambling, fast food, Hennessy adjacent promotion, you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself if you've adapted to our modern reality. But shout out Rudy Gobert, 2020, rubbing the microphone.
Yeah,
we needed to shout him out. He touched the microphone at the press conference. 2 days later, tests positive and shuts down the league.
Certainly the most impactful moment. It feels like, and that was the moment that everyone was like, "Oh, cool, we're literally in a pandemic."
Yeah,
he did donate $500,000, so like, arguably, if nobody in that press room died, like it was for the best.
Well, it's classic. It's classic Rudy, the like outward facing, like thing that sticks in people's minds, and he just always messes that up.
Exactly.
The underlying numbers.
The man with the most confusing politics in the whole world. Which to be fair, that is just like an average French guy, but anyway.
I mean, 2020 is just the gift that keeps on giving. I put down Lemon Pepper Lou.
Yeah, that has to be mentioned for sure.
Leaves the bubble for a family funeral. R.I.P. But a photo surfaces of Lou Williams at Magic City, famous Atlanta strip club.
With Jack Harlow. Yeah.
His defense, do you remember his defense?
The lemon pepper wings are really good.
I just love the food.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the menu has renamed them Lemon Pepper Lou Wings now. I think if my research doesn't deceive me, that's still on the menu. He was quarantined 10 days, missed games, but he's been immortalized. So, again, worth it.
Yeah. Oh, the one that I really wanted to mention, another high profile one, is the Jimmy Butler
Wolves practice.
Third stringers.
That was my number one left. Yeah.
Yeah. Straight into the interview with Rachel Nichols. I mean, the whole thing, like all the rumors circulating. It also is like the gift that keeps on giving, because like every 3 to 6 months, there's a new player podcast that like brings some more like mythology to that practice. Like Jeff Teague has obviously a great one, but I feel like we just keep hearing anecdotes about that practice and like how much he hated basically everyone on the team except maybe Tibbs. But doing that and then going straight into like demanding a trade live on The Jump or whatever the show was at the time was just like, it might have been like the peak of the player empowerment era. I don't know if like things just kind of went downhill after that. But it has to be mentioned.
Yeah, that one was pretty incredible. I had a tweet. I don't know if you guys remember the famous Kanye tweet before he, fully went off the deep end, but he had the "I'ma fix Wolves."
Yeah.
I photoshopped Jimmy Butler saying "I'ma break Wolves."
Yeah.
Which was one of my first big tweets on
nice.
NBA Twitter. But also led directly to the Sixers getting him. One of my favorite moments until he, broke my heart just a few months later, like he tends to do. Mm-hmm. The other two that I had that we didn't get to were the Malik Beasley's dentist debts. Just feels like has to be a shout here. Like, I mean, the whole situation is really sad, and I actually feel bad for Malik, but the dentist part of it is so strange that it has to be mentioned. And then Zhaire Smith throwing soup at a coach.
Yes.
Feels like just has to get a shout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how inspirational it is that you pay rent by tweeting photoshopped Kanye tweets about NBA teams? Like, you are my idol. But I actually have a 3-pack from 2017. You mentioned we're not doing the Colangelo stuff. Sorry, Burnergate isn't happening. But KD did have also his own burner slip up.
Yeah.
Where he was defending himself in the third person. to his credit, he just called it childish and fun, and we moved on. But 2017 had two other moments that I'll never forget. One of them, Zaza Pachulia, almost an all-star starter, in a bizarre turn.
I don't even remember that.
The country of Georgia nearly votes Pachulia into the all-star starting lineup over Kawhi Leonard.
It led to voting reform, where they brought in the 50-25-25 model.
Yes.
We're doing right choice.
And by the way, this is just a glitch in the simulation because of Zaza almost steals Kawhi's spot. Zaza also, Kawhi steps on his foot and changes the course of NBA history there. But the NBA, rewrites its voting rules mid-season to put a stop to the madness. The country of Georgia is buzzing. And for one glorious week, Zaza was bigger than LeBron. So,
and also years later,
that one's crazy.
We got the K-pop with Wiggins,
exactly,
which was also related to the Warriors.
Yes. And speaking of
broke
Wiggins,
through the new format.
Yeah, they said we don't care. We're so powerful, we can overcome.
That we got from Jimmy Butler mauling Cat and Wiggins, and kind of like the public sort of agreeing that Jimmy was the good guy there, to Wiggins's 2022 finals heroism is pretty sick. Like history will not remember how improbable that Wiggins redemption was. So good on him. And then and now
he's also used as the example for everyone forever. If they're bad as a number 1 or 2 overall pick, they could just become Wiggins.
Yeah.
Like I haven't given up on Kuminga. He can have a Wiggins moment somewhere.
There you go.
Tony Snell's 28 minutes of cardio, 2017.
Perfect.
Good one.
Zeros across every stat line. Dude, I know that if I gave you 28 minutes in an NBA game, you're turning it over.
For sure. You're
getting out of self-respect.
Yeah. I just a quick candidate for that. Cody Williams has a chance to do it. I do think that if he gets enough run, we could see a Tony Snell game from Cody Williams. I believe in him.
All-time performance art.
Yeah. You mentioned Kawhi. I feel like just the end of his career in San Antonio is super weird. And I don't know if we're just because of the parties involved, I don't think we'll ever get an expose on it, but it just seemed like it was always trending towards he's the next Tim Duncan. He's going to take over. Like we've gone from sort of the NBA equivalent of like Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, where you have like 40 years of stability at the most important, spot on your roster. And then there's the Zaza like ankle thing. He's got this weird quad thing, which turns into the rest of his teammates kind of criticizing him for not coming back from it. Tony Parker saying my injury was way worse and I came back sooner. And then he's just gone.
Tony Parker would never do that to a teammate.
Yeah. Exactly.
He would never. He would never let down a teammate.
Just a Frenchman.
Yeah, exactly. I literally made that same exact excuse for him the other day because Brent Barry followed me on Twitter. Anyway, you can continue.
This is you struck a chord with me. So we lost our old Twitter and we made a new one, which is how we found you, or how you found us more. But the thing that I'll never get over from losing the old Twitter is that Brent Barry followed us, and
he's in the weeds apparently. I didn't know this until recently. I literally like 3 days ago he followed me, and I was like, Greg Anthony's the other one that follows me. That's like it's very funny because I don't know anything about Brent Barry other than his NBA career and that story. But Greg Anthony, I learned, is like a huge like Republican politician guy. I didn't know until I followed him back and I went on his Wikipedia and found that and was like, maybe I shouldn't follow Greg Anthony back.
There you go.
Respecting Greg Anthony. He's a great commentator, but
I love Brent Barry. I'm pumped we're going to have him back commentating games this year. But
Brent Barry, keep popping gummies on airplanes and following all of us. We appreciate it.
I will forever regret not reaching out to him and just like establishing some point of contact. But yeah, the end of the Kawhi thing in San Antonio, I just had to mention that one too.
It is weird we haven't gotten anything about that.
Yeah.
Like anything like beyond just like the surface level stuff.
Exactly.
We need to send Baxter Holmes or
Pablo
Torre in there.
Yeah. The only other ones I wanted to mention, Phoenix with the Slovenian national coach and Vladi from former Yugoslavia, both passing on Luka Doncic in the same draft.
Insane.
How about Bagley going number 2?
Yeah.
It was a car crash in slow motion and everyone knew Sacramento was going to do it because there's never been a more Sacramento pick.
Yeah.
But
it even
come on,
affected
dude.
trade. It even affected things they did for years after that. Whereas, like, I remember everyone overreacting, including myself, to the Keegan Murray pick at the time.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, it's classic Kings, right? And it's like, even though I was like, Keegan's gonna, I literally was like, he might be like a Harrison Barnes, Tobias Harris type, but just in my mind, I was like, this is classic Kings.
Yeah,
and it was, because it turned out they drafted a really talented guy and have completely stalled his growth to like to let DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine cook. Yeah, Keegan's good, but Max, you mentioned the aspiration situation in Kawhi, and we're monitoring. It's early. I just want to throw Topic's balls in the mix here too. This is an interesting dynamic, and like, you know, OKC's potential dynasty striving to repeat, that they've lost Sorber, who I really liked, to like a knee injury. Now he's out for a year, and Topic is like week to week with some sort of testicular issue. I hope it's nothing serious, but it's just the sort of injury report I feel like we should be talking about on this podcast.
You're like, why do we need to know that? Like, I was just confused. Like, you could just be like, he's getting surgery. Like, we don't need to know what's on his balls. Like, you know, like that. You could have left that part. I hope it's, like you said, not anything super serious. Because my first thought was like, wow, I hope he doesn't have cancer. You know, like that was my first. But apparently, there are other things that can happen that would cause this. So,
because he doesn't have a head shaped, I think, as kindly as mine has been by God. Like, I think Topic bald could be a real problem, but we're not making cancer jokes. Hope he's all right. I think he's a really good player.
All right, I've had cancer twice. I can.
Oh fly, shit. So. Okay, now we need you on the pod for diversity.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah.
The last one I wanted to mention, which did not happen to current NBA players, but after The Last Dance, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife dating Michael Jordan's son, I feel like has to be mentioned as just how the hell did this happen.
You think that one hurts more than testicular torsion?
Probably. It might. I don't know.
That one's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow.
All right. Either of you have any others you want to get off your chest before we wrap?
That's it.
All right. Well, this was truly a wonderful episode, unscripted, and we really appreciate you joining, Trill. We'd love to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Whenever.
It was a lot of fun.
This was so much fun. But yeah, love your content. Everyone will have the link to find Trill on Twitter and the podcast and everything. So check him out. But yeah, awesome having you on.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back soon, everybody. Peace.